Weeks ago, we had black women talking amongst each other. What are you trying to tell me?
Gotta take it from the top. We didn't have any sound.
All right. That's the beauty of live, man. You mess up, you gotta go again. We didn't have any sound. Okay, so how we doing this? Are you starting everything over? Like,
Take it right from where you at.
all right. See how we do that, man? So just like that, we going to rewind selector. My name is April Watts. This is Ego. It's Everybody's Got One, a show about opinions. The number for you to call right now is 410-822-3733. Take it down, put it in your celly, do whatever. 410-822-3733. And we've been having a running conversation. If you are like a real egomaniac, that's what I call everybody that like really rocks with the podcast. If you are a true blue egomaniac, then you know that about 2 weeks ago, it was black women, just all black women on the panel talking about black woman things, you know? And then last week, I had the pleasure of being on a panel with all men. We had like a wonderful conversation. But the thing about black men and women, right? We talk about each other, we talk at each other, but it's time that we do this thing right here. We talk to each other. We're going to have a very necessary conversation where we're going to love on each other. We're going to call each other to the carpet. We are just going to do what we do. And the topic tonight is called It's About Damn Time. Because it is, right? If you're ready for it, then take this number down one more time, 410-822-3733. Feel free to comment, feel free to call in. And if you are enjoying this show, if you love the podcast and you feel like the world needs to see and hear what we're talking about, then please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Joining me today, we have a beautiful, beautiful panel of some people that I respect and I love and I enjoy their personalities and their perspectives. So I had to have them on for this particular conversation. We have Eric McKinley King. He is here with us today, the producer, but he's also a panelist.
Thank you, April. You're beautiful as well. And yeah, my name is Eric King, Ego podcast producer, bald head, many hats. Glad to be back.
Glad to have you. And we have my girl, Erika Elie.
Hey, everybody. April got me up here today, so I'm ready for the conversation. As some may know, I'm the manager of Safari and dibble and dabble in education. So, you know, that I'm definitely in the world for the men and the women conversation, so I'm ready.
Yes, and she's a strong woman with a lot of opinions, and so I knew I had to have you on. And back to back, man, Jon Cook is doing this Drizzy Drake thing, okay?
Right.
We had him last week for the men's panel, and I really appreciated your perspective and just your openness and your honesty. Like, you really had honest conversation, and for that reason, I knew I had to have you back today.
Well, I'm glad to be back. Thank you for having me. I can't wait to get into it. I'm here for the men and the women conversations too. So
all right. And one of my favorite couples, man. I just love me some Carlos and Kelle Avent. And the funny thing is, like, I met you guys through social media, but don't you know how like you can just sometimes feel people's energy and tell that they are genuine and everything. And like, I just love you guys. And you are married. Like, you are the true manifestation of black love. And I was like, we can't have a conversation about black men and women and black love and how we should be and without having a black married couple on. And when I thought about a black married couple, you were the first to come to mind.
Oh, wow. We appreciate that. I mean, you know, we love and we respect you, April, and we appreciate what you do, your grind. I mean, you are relentless about it. And so, you know, it's an honor to be a part.
Thank you so much for coming. All right.
Thank you for having us.
So we are going to get right into it because we have a lot to say just for everybody who normally watches the podcast. And you know that we normally have our features. We have Hourglass and we have Human Being of the Week. We're not doing none of that tonight because when black men and women come to the table together to talk, we got some things to say, okay? So we want every little bit of our time to utilize to talk about this very, very important conversation. So we are just going to get right into it. Now, when we think of our types or what we look for in men and women, we always talk about the physical. What are some non-physical qualities that you always look for in someone of the opposite sex? And let's start with Jon.
Wow. I mean, first of all, you want to get somebody intelligent. You know what I'm saying? And by that, I mean not just necessarily educated, but, intelligent to the ways of the world, so you don't have to do a lot of explaining of things. And for me personally, I got to have somebody that has a sense of humor. Life is hard enough as it is. I think those are the main two things. I don't want to take up everybody's time, like you were saying, but you got to be smart. You got to be funny, for me, at least.
Okay, Kelly and Carlos?
Well, for me, I'm an energy person. And so if I meet somebody and we're just not matching at all and your energy is off, I'm already turned off and I don't even really get into the conversation, honestly. And that could be bad or good because I can miss out on something great. But at the moment, if their energy is off, I kind of step back. And if we meet again and it changes, great. But otherwise, energy is everything for me.
Yes.
And I need that vibe, you know what I mean? Like I need to know like I can watch sports with you, I can go on a romantic date with you. I need to know that you have that versatility in your personality. Like that's a big one for me too.
Okay.
See,
Erika?
I want to go again now.
All right, E-Boogie, what's up? Well, hold up. We got Eric and we got Erika, so I have to specify. Erika.
Okay, I thought Mr. Jon Cook was going to go again, but okay. For me, I just need a person that's down to earth, okay?
Okay.
And for real, for me, I'm a very, energetic person, so I need somebody with the same type of energy, somebody that understands my dynamic. I mean, for me, I'm in the nightclub business, and so confidence.
Yes.
Confidence. And oh my goodness, can you be secure with yourself? That way you're secure with me. Okay,
That's
so
right.
that goes a mile a minute. So that's what, the looks is one thing, but that security, please get it.
All right. All right. You heard it from Miss E. All right, Mr. E.
All excellent points that I could grab any one of them and borrow. But I think it was Quincy Jones who said, it's the melody, talking about songwriting. And I feel like it's the empathy when I talk about women.
Yes.
Like human beings for sure, but women in particular, I think it's more of a necessity for me because carrying empathy is a heavy load to do by yourself. And so if you're an empathetic person and you find someone who isn't, it actually is more taxing to you as you know what I mean, to carry that load. So empathy is probably first on my list.
And, the opposite of that is just don't be a narcissist, okay? Do not be a narcissist, please.
You lost me at N.
In, okay? In, and we just gonna bust that Yui, you know what I'm saying? For me, I am very much a sapiosexual. Intelligence gets me every time. I have dated the spectrum of men, but the one thing that everyone, what was that?
I was throwing my brain
but the one thing that every guy that I've dated has in common, except maybe two. They weren't as smart as the others. But everybody has been super intelligent. Like that just turns me on. I love intelligence. Empathy matters to me, and it matters more as I've gotten older because it's very important to be with somebody that has the same heart as you. You don't have to think alike. You don't have to have the same taste. But you have to have someone who loves the way you love, because if not, you can wind up getting really, truly hurt. And that has happened to me. So the 45-year-old April is now looking for someone with the same heart as her. All right, so let's talk about this, because this is a running conversation that takes place on social media, but it also takes place in real life. And that's the topic of protection. Do black men and women protect each other enough? And let's have that honest conversation. Whoever feels comfortable going first, just jump right in. And if you're a man, you can speak from either perspective.
I'll redeem myself then. I feel like no. The answer is no. It's like I was saying earlier, a very harsh environment that we're in. And I think that we have kind of adopted a mentality where it's kind of like survival of the fittest. And instead of kind of looking outward to attack or be aggressive towards, we look inward. I can't really explain it, but definitely men and women have a lot of conflict, I think. And it's very difficult for a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? And it's hopefully conversations like this is what's necessary to have, but it's so hard to actually have them, it seems like.
Anybody else?
I'm definitely going to say no as well. And the saddest thing for me is that I think that women have gotten so used to not having that protection anymore, that when a man steps up and is protective, even if she doesn't know him, she almost rejects it because she's not used to having it. And that's very sad to me, because I've noticed, especially women, you know, like in my age in the 30s, you know, and a man comes along and they're talking about, you want this man that's going to look out for me and be chivalrous and just, you know, just kind of take care of things for me. And as soon as he comes along, it's like, I'm independent. I don't need you to do this and I don't need you to do that. You know, when he's literally just trying to be that protector for you.
And
it's a defense mechanism.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
Yeah, it is. And that kind of man, unfortunately, is becoming more rare, and it should not be. But because of that mentality, it's almost like two ships missing each other in the night. You know, but where both ships have what the other want, but you just keep crossing paths, and you're not stopping to meet at that same place. But the gentleman quality, I should say, that should not be a rare thing, but it is. And a part of that, I think, is attributed to what the media tells us. You know, what Twitter is saying is popular, is hot, or what you should do, or what's being said in songs, right? Is that even a real R&B song these days? Who's a real R&B artist these days? You know,
Wow.
like look, little stuff like that matters.
I'm gonna have to take it back. I'm old school, so I'm gonna say it does exist, but it depends on the person. You know, for example, when I say old school, I have both of my parents. And so my parents definitely built that kind of foundation for me that I can provide to the person that inspires me to give it to them. So, I mean, to me, I think it's there. It depends on you and the person that you're with, you know, and I mean, because definitely if there's somebody that doesn't inspire you, you're not gonna, you know, go in that direction.
Yeah.
But, you know, just looking at how my parents were as a couple, it just inspired me. If there's a person that I wanted to receive, I'll definitely give it to that person, you know. So I'm going to say it's there. Unfortunately, I do agree with everybody else on the nose, depending on this logistics the world that we're living in now. It is unfortunate because it's making relationships, how can you say, disheartening? You know, so.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't even think it's possible for us to protect each other enough. I think regardless of gender, just as black people, we can't protect each other enough. Like there's no end to that. So there's always going to be a no to me, in my opinion. I think everybody needs to keep looking higher and, you know, and looking at what they can do more. Now, as a man in particular, who is very protective as an individual of black women, and not, I think we got to put a little distinguishing line in there between men who are protective of the women they're fucking and men who are protective of black women. That's two very different things that I think if we're part of, so you have that tier that's not protective at all, then you have the selectively protective tier, and then there's that, you know, like you said, the rare level of men and women who are just wholly, you know, just dedicated to the cause of black people being better. So I don't think we'll ever get to the enough part.
I agree with that, and I'm glad that you brought up those tiers, because I'm just gonna keep it a buck. I think that, speaking in general terms, and I hate that I always have to say not all, because I believe that when intelligent people are speaking, we know that not every individual black man is unprotective. Like, we already know that. But there are enough that are not for me to say that this is prevalent. And I just feel that overall, black women tend to be far more protective of black men than black men are of black women. And it plays out societally, it plays out on an individual, like interpersonal relationship situation or whatever. And it hurts. As a black woman, it hurts because whether it's a Facebook conversation, whether it's real life, like I show up for black men. I will be on Facebook going to war, and it might seem like wasted energy, but I'm not going to let nobody come at black men. I'm not going to let anybody come at a black man. I don't care. I'm so serious about that. But then I see so many instances where black men don't care what happens to black women. They don't show up. Like when things happened to Mike Brown, to Trayvon Martin, to all of those people, black women were on it. And when Sandra Bland happened, I did not see that same fervor, and that same collective anger from black men for Sandra Bland. And as a black woman who that has not happened to, it still hurt. It was just like, what if I were Sandra Bland? And I would just like to feel, as a black woman in general, a little bit more reciprocity from black men. And it really annoys me too when you speak about the tears, you were speaking about the black men who show up for the black women in their lives, whether it's somebody that they're fucking, whether it's their wife, whether it's their mother or daughter, and they think that's enough. And those are the same men that when I make comments like black men don't protect black women, they are the first to hop in the comments and say, not all, because I protect mine, But what about yours that you don't know? What about yours that you don't interact with? What about yours that is not in your bloodline, but still that's your sister? You know what I'm saying? I just feel that overall black men can and should do a better job at protecting black women.
Well, don't you think? I'm sorry. Don't you think, like me, I've raised 2 black sons, So I think it's important because of their foundation of what they've been raised off of. So my sons, no offense, but I pride myself in how I raised my boys and to come, to respect a black woman. You understand what I'm saying? And there's women of all colors. No offense, but me, I like to see my son come in with a black woman because there's so many of us that have got put to the wayside for these big name people to go and get a different color because you think, a black woman is too
isn't worthy,
or too off the chain or something like that. So I think, the foundation of the men now coming up, you have to uplift us. I sometimes I think about the situation. I'm like, your mama black, right?
Honey,
right.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to yell, but it's just
that's
your mama black. Your mama black.
How could you dare dish your mama? You understand what I'm saying? And no offense, things happen in the world, and for example, Kobe Bryant, no offense, and he perished, and that was unfortunate, but his mom, whatever relationship you had, it was just like, oh my goodness, this is your mom, your black mother. This is just, I just can't see it. Just the protection, it just starts at the base. And right now, it's not being covered at the base.
It's not being covered at the base.
No way.
I think Carlos was going to say something, or John.
Go for it.
Go ahead, John.
Well, this is an interesting little conversation. And first of all, I think that women really just want to be heard. And I struggle sometimes, like I want to, hear what people are saying and understand what they're saying and hear where y'all are coming from. And I agree, I can't tell you how to feel as women. But I feel like statistically it's different. You know what I'm saying? Your examples are valid. And I'm not trying to say that you are not feeling what you feel or anything like that. But the stats are what they are. Like, most black men marry black women. And I feel like the protection that we afford the women in our circle, meaning our mothers and wives and so on and so forth, daughters and blah, blah, blah. That is a major consideration. And I mean, while I agree with you that there was not nearly enough output or outrage about Sandra Bland or Breonna Taylor, or, you can name a long list of people that unfortunately have been, victimized. I agree with that point, but I think that I feel like there's like a narrative that's formed, especially on social media, that black men don't protect black women. And I feel like that's absolutely true individually, but generally it's not.
I think it is true generally because I'm a black woman living in this world. So I'm not just talking about social media narrative. I'm talking about ride the bus and see somebody disrespecting a black woman, cussing her out, talking to her crazy, or like even beating her. Other black men will walk by like they didn't even see it happen. I have been like, I'm cute, okay? And I can literally be like carrying heavy ass bags, boxes, or whatever, and a black woman will stop and be like, sis, do you need some help? Before a black man will. I swear, a white man will stop and ask to help me. White people real helpful. I mean, honestly, seriously, like they will stop to help, and black men are like, I don't know her, it's not my problem. Anything other than work, anything other than protection, anything other than help. So like those stats that I'm speaking of aren't just social media fodder. Like, it's from living in this world and experiencing it.
But see, I think something that needs to be attached to this is the how that came to be part in that not only has like white supremacy done a number on America and black people in America, but a part of that white supremacy apparatus has been American patriarchy, which for black boys raises us to be very, very much transactional when it comes to women. And people as a whole, but especially when it comes to women. And so the idea for a lot of them is that they're not getting anything out of it when they see, whether it's you struggling with bags or a woman in distress, needs a tire change, whatever the case may be. It's transactional in their mindset of, well, what's in it for me, or what do I get out of it? Is she going to give me her number? Is she even cute? Because that plays a part in a lot of, how many people pull over, how fast. And so like all of those things that just seem to be oddly ingrained in black boys is in the way that we're raised and conditioned is just very, cha-ching. Like you're going to the register and, you exchange one thing for another. And we can't be that way with women, especially, in situations of distress or peril or whatever. But that's something that doesn't manifest itself when the man is a man in front of you and walks past you. That manifested himself when he was 8 or 9, and somebody let him get away with.
Yeah, like Erika was talking about the foundation.
Yeah, all of like that. The foundation is so critical, and we as black people have to recognize the pieces of patriarchy, because some of it's going to be here to stay, right? But we have to forcibly strip a lot of that stuff for it to prevent it from getting into our sons and our daughters, but especially our sons. We condition our daughters sometimes to accept or be accepting of those things and just pivot and go on with their lives instead of confronting it or addressing it. And that's, in some ways, to be more attractive or present a certain way to the men who are ignoring you in the first place.
To get pretty privileged.
Don't start nothing, don't kick up and these things, you can see them in kids. If you're around kids enough, you'll see like just little hints of things that'll strike you as odd without context. But if you add the context to them, you'll almost immediately identify like, oh, I see the piece that's missing. She didn't get that when she was growing up, or or he has this issue because he's never been taught this way. And I think that's a part of the conversation that has, like, we talk about it in abstract, but like if you get down to the point of how it actually happens, how these men arrive at this juncture in life, it's their childhood and their upbringing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We want you to be a part of this conversation as well. Call us right now at 410-822-3733. That's 410-822-FREE. It's about damn time that black men and black women talk it out. And that's what we're doing right here, right now. You were going to say something, John? Go right ahead.
It was Carlos.
Oh, Carlos, I'm sorry.
Okay. No, I was just saying, like, the upbringing piece is critical, right? Because I grew up with both my parents, and I seen my dad be that gentleman. Had I grown up with, let's say, one of my uncles, then I would have seen women being objectified. I would have seen women being treated as property,
right?
Being treated as less than, because to them, that's what made you a man, when you can show your dominance physically, emotionally, verbally over a woman. Then that's when now you're a man, and you're even more of a man if you can do it and control your own woman. And anyone else that's not yours, that ain't none of your business. That ain't your woman. She's someone else's property. Exactly. And that's what that leads to. And when you growing up and you seeing that, what happen? Creature of habit. You become what you see. You become that. And then it just trickles down. You just keep teaching. You keep teaching it. You teach it to your son. You teach it to your nephew. Teach it to your cousin. Teach it to your mentee. And it just keeps happening. And at some point, someone has to stand up and say, you know what, I just don't feel comfortable doing that or being that way.
All right, so we talked about the problem. Now let's be a little bit more proactive. In what ways or how would you like to see black men and black women show up for each other?
All right, well, I'll swing at it first. I think let me swing at black men first, because I am one, so it's easy for me to speak to that. I really want to see black men show up unapologetically as black men. Some black men really struggle with their blackness.
Yes.
And one of the ways it plays out is withdrawing when your people need you to be your blackest, and you kind of shy away from it, you shun it, and so everything is more magnified because of patriarchy as it pertains to women. So what women see is someone who looks very timid or cowardly, and you're backing away when we need you to run to the fire, right? So for black men, I think it's just really wrestling with who you are as a black man, what it means, and defining, or in some cases redefining. If you didn't get it from your parents or your household growing up, redefining it. When you're a man, you can make manly decisions and say, you know what, I didn't get that growing up, but enough's enough. There's too many people out here that are saying the right things, doing the right things, leading by example. I can have the right colleagues, friends, mentors that I surround myself with. So the excuse, only gets you probably, I would say, past maybe your teens, early college years, maybe. But after that, I'm gonna start looking.
You're responsible.
And on the flip side, I think for women, I think it's just, as
I'm gonna put a pin in that.
Okay.
I just want you to say how you want men to show up for women.
Okay.
Kelly, as a black woman, how would you like to see black women show up for black men?
I would like to see black women show up for black women. And what I mean by that is that, for me, I grew up with my grandparents. And so there was a constant impartation from the elder black woman to the younger black woman, which showed me how to be there for my husband. And so I think when black women show up for black women and aren't afraid to impart in that next generation, it teaches that younger black woman that it's okay to be independent, but yet be so soft in a way that a man does not feel intimidated by your greatness or intimidated by your power, so that he does not approach you. And so for my grandmother, even though she was a housewife and she took care of everything at home, she ran that ship.
Hey.
You know what I mean? And that taught me, when it comes down to my husband, even though I knew I would be in a totally different generation, it taught me to run that ship. And what I mean by that is that when he comes home, there's a scripture that says a foolish woman plucks her house down with her hands. When he comes home, I'm not going to pluck what he has been going through down with my hands. So sometimes when he comes home, he may be tired. He may need more emotional availability, than I need at the time. And so for me, I would like for Black women to kind of take a back seat. We have a lot of sass, which is great. But sometimes I think our sensitivity needs to be more forthcoming than our sass. Because sometimes what I've found with a lot of Black men is that they really just kind of want you to be like, baby, how you doing today? How was your day? And it doesn't even have to be somebody that you know. And I found that even in just going in the store, sometimes I'll see a Black man that's looking like the world is on his shoulder. And I would say something, whatever to him, and it would just bring him right back down, because he just needed that sensitivity. And I think our Black men have been groomed to be so hard that they're fighting through, and I can't speak for a Black man, but they're fighting through to show that emotional side. And I think Black women can support Black men by helping them with that side.
I love it. I love it.
All
right, Carlos, right beside her, so go ahead.
You know what she said is right. That one piece about Black women coming forth and just kind of speaking life into Black men, right? You'd be surprised what that does to us here, right? And how it brings that wall down. Like, okay, so you're not going to try to stab me too. Okay. If we see that softness, let me tell you, if I'm out there in the world, I'm already fighting the world because I'm a Black man, because I'm a man, period, or because I don't have this number degree, or whatever. I already have enough battles out there. And then if I have to come home to another battle, what's the point? What is the point? So that is a way. The main thing I should say, the main thing that would help here is communication, right? I feel like both sides feel like they can't, or they are too afraid to, or there's some kind of barrier that's keeping you from being vulnerable and saying what it is that you need as a Black man and as a Black woman. And the other has to be willing to listen and deliver. 3-step process.
Delivery, yes. Okay, Erika.
I don't know. I might get shot down for this word because this is not the best word that women like to hear. But
I already know what's coming.
As a woman,
the S word.
Yes, as a woman, submit. Okay, but there are tiers to submission. Okay,
that's right.
And so, and this is from a person. I was married 18 years, and trust me, I ain't submit to nothing here. Okay, I mean, he can come in, honey, and be broke down. I don't care. But as you get older and understand the dynamics of your relationship. And submission is not meaning that you're giving him full control. No way, no how. But like you said, when they come in, a Black man out here in this world right now, it's a dog world for them. Okay? Yes. So to come home to comfort is just overwhelming. To know that I don't want my man to walk in the door and I'm bam, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. They don't want to come home to that.
Yes.
When my man comes through the door, how was your day? Give us some, like you said, open communication. Let him know that, hey, I'm thinking about you. I understand what you're going through out there in the world, but I don't want you to come through on this side. This ain't the world you have to go through. So, submission, making a sandwich, and, do you really call that submission? Or,
right.
Right. Oh, baby, make me a sandwich. Okay, I'll make you a sandwich.
Right.
But don't take it, because we are independent Black women, and we've been doing everything.
So long.
And, that's how we are. We're strong-minded. We got our degrees. We keep going. Thing with a woman is that when we have something that we want to complete, we will get to the finish line.
We
Okay?
will.
Because we, per se, don't need the pump and circumstance. We're going to keep doing it regardless. But if
Right.
a man does not have the support and the foundation, they can fail. They'll go in a different direction. But if that man knows that he has a woman pulling on the other side and in his corner, he will get to the finish line with her as well. So, once again, that word submission.
Talk that talk, E.
Yeah, that's a hard word, but there's just a way that you can submit to make it beneficial for both you and him.
I'm gonna tell a little secret, right? Erika is my friend in real life. So we have real life conversations. And when I may meet a person or I'm dating somebody or whatever, she be like, April, now, understand that it's okay to submit a little bit. She be trying to be, polite about it and a little indirect with it. But she's like, April, understand, it's okay. All right, John, go ahead.
No, I mean, I feel like in order for black people to show up, or black men to show up for black women, and so on and so forth, and for women to show up for men, I think people need to fix themselves. The reason that we've got like these barriers, like my man said, is because of previous situations that you've gone through with people. And it is very difficult to be vulnerable. The more you go through those situations, the more you got issues and baggage and so on and so forth. But there does come a time in your life where you need to kind of fix those things, you know what I'm saying? Via therapy or whatever you got to do to kind of address, what you've been through. I hate to use like trauma because, it is what it is.
But trauma is what it is. Yeah.
But right, it is what it is. So whatever it is that you have gone through, you know what I'm saying? So that you're not kind of stuck in that cycle or whatever you want to call it. You got to fix yourself. And then when you are kind of good, you can show up for somebody else because you kind of got, the pieces of yourself put together. But if you can't, you're all kind of confused and fumbling and don't really know why you do things. I feel like as you are younger, you don't really know why you do certain things. You just are kind of doing stuff and it doesn't really make sense. And you trying to figure it out. But as time goes on, you do figure it out. You kind of fix yourself and you become kind of a better person, hopefully, knock on wood, as time goes on.
Damn, y'all so deep tonight. It's like, I don't want to come beyond you guys.
Reaching my bag for that one. I was like, oh, man. Y'all coming with it.
For me, I think the most revolutionary act in the world for black people is to choose black love. And so for me, the way I would like to see both black men and black women show up for each other is to choose each other, to make a conscious decision to choose black love. Now, with that being said, I'm not against interracial relationships. I have dated interracially, and if I meet a man of another race that just rocks my socks and that is my person, then I'm going to be with that person unapologetically. But I think too often black people consciously seek outside of our race. Like we want a woman that looks like Angela Valdez, or we want a man that looks like, what's Lisa Bonet's husband? Yes.
Jason Momoa, right?
Yes, Jason Momoa or whatever. Like we consciously, because of how we feel about ourselves, we seek people outside of our race to validate us, to make us feel better about ourselves. And for me, it's nothing more beautiful than a black man. If I happen to come across something that makes me feel unlike anyone else has made me feel, then I'm going to rock with that because I yield to love. But I think that if every black person worked on self-love, you would see a lot more black love. And so I would really, like John said, I would really like for us as black people who don't like therapy, who don't like counseling, who don't like to admit weakness and vulnerability, to be honest about our trauma, to work on that trauma, which is our responsibility, to fix that trauma so we can feel good about ourselves and so we can choose black love.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you said it much better than I did. There you go.
So we are supposed to take a commercial break right now, but I'm going to talk through that break because I just feel like we have a really great conversation going on and I don't want to break that flow. I don't want to stop that energy. I want to thank tonight's sponsors, Safari Nightclub, as well as the Baltimore Comedy Factory. If you look around, you see us in a different setting. At first, we were in Safari's VIP room, which is amazing. Thank you to Erika. Thank you to Jimmy T. Thank you to Tad, Rex, everybody, like all the staff at Safari Nightclub. And yes, the world is shut down right now, or at least Baltimore City is shut down.
But we coming back.
But we're coming back. We'll be back, in the words of the Terminator, okay? So please, please show your love for Safari Nightclub and for the Baltimore Comedy Factory when the world opens back up. And also our sponsor tonight is my company, BCN Apparel. We have amazing clothing, which is always a conversation piece, like the shirt I have on tonight. I made it. It says, "All hell nah," and it is dedicated to Nat Turner, because in 1831, he said, "All hell no." He was not with the shits, and he fought back. And I think that that's very important, because I think that too often Black people are taught to be docile and to accept what happens to us and to be forgiving. But there's that flip side to that, and that's very important too. And so I just wanted to highlight that, and I wanted to show respect for that particular ancestor. And especially because Nate Parker lost a whole career because he made a movie about it. Because people don't want to hear about Black people rising up. And I think that we need to tell more of those stories so, you know, we can be a little bit more confident, a little bit more fearless, and stop taking so much shit. That's just my thought about that. And if you like this shirt or you would like to see the others, then you can go to bcnapparel.com. Now back to this topic. It's about damn time. Black men and Black women talking it out. I want to talk about something because I feel that we can be tough on each other sometimes, Black men and women. Do you think that we give each other enough grace?
I mean, you're looking at me, but I think you already know. We don't. No, absolutely not. Again, we're not taught these things. I don't know why it's so hard for men and women to have a conversation and not go deeper. Like, we have a lot of surface conversations about stuff like that, but if men and women were really being honest with each other, then we would get to the point of, you know, how are you like this? How did you get here? Because grace is something, we've all seen it, you know. I've seen my elders and, you know, grandparents, I've seen how they move and how kind and gentle they had to be with each other, even when, you know, someone, you could see, you know, there's some tension or somebody's upset, right? That happens. We're all human. But, you know, grace is to, you know, when someone's allowed to raise their voice and then given time to calm down themselves without it being further antagonized, right? Like, that's an example of grace. And it's so simple, but we'll just go through life arguing. And then get of age where we're like, why we argue all the time? Well, it must be something wrong with it, and never really get into the question of, like, well, did you not experience this? Did you not see it as valuable when you grew up? That's the thing. Strength is valued. That's why everybody wants Black women to be strong and independent and da-da-da until they don't.
Until they don't, exactly.
And that's why, you know, the same thing for Black men. You know, be this, do this, you know, but then don't be vulnerable. And we create these cancers for ourselves, and we all got the shit, and none of us want to talk about, like, how we really got there. And it's not, I think maybe some of it is too parental, and we don't want to, like, blame our parents for shit. Mine did a whole bunch of stuff wrong, but one thing that they did
Every parent does, though. You know,
right,
like,
you cannot. Like, I think I'm a great parent. My son probably doesn't. You know, and that's okay. Like, you know, but I think if we weren't afraid to cross that threshold, and I see it in my son now, where he's afraid to tell me about myself. You know what I mean? And I never really had that fear with my parents. I'll call them on their shit all the time. But my friends did not do that. And we have this respect.
Do you think that the way Black parents discipline has something to do with that?
Absolutely. All of that shit. So there was a conversation the other day where somebody threw up a meme about spanking. And I said very plainly, all I needed to know that there was a better way to raise children was when my parents reinvented history and tried to act like they didn't beat the shit out of my ass on a regular basis. When they had to look at me as an adult and just flat out make up shit, I was like, okay, clearly you're touched by this, and you feel some kind of way. So I now know that you have some remorse about certain things that happened when I was a child.
I mean, I don't mean to go on a tangent, but for me, it was the opposite. I got ass whoopings, and I'm thankful for those ass whoopings because my personality type, I'm gonna push it to the limit. I'm gonna try. You gonna say, April, don't touch the stove. I'm gonna be like, what you say? Don't do what? Huh? And I will look you straight in your face and do whatever the fuck I wanted to do. And like growing up where I grew up, with the personality type that I had, if I did not get ass whoopings, I would not be where I am today. I'll be a whole nother person with a whole nother life that I'm sure I would not want.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that does come.
It depends on the child's personality.
The child's personality, but also the lens in which we're looking through. Right? We're the same age, so we're talking, 80s crack era shit. And
all of that.
So I understand why people have that sentiment, but I also understand that there's better ways. Like I also understand that there are other tools as a parent that we have at our disposal that just didn't get fucking used because my parents didn't know about it, because their parents didn't know about it, because my grandparents, my paternal grandparents grew up, my grandfather's a sharecropper. Like there was no, kids didn't talk. You were grown before you could start talking. So like the whole dynamic and the lens changes with each generation, which is why we also have to change the way we parent and the tools that we use with each generation, because the same shit don't work every day.
I've seen some kids that just do need an ass whooping in 2020 though. I'm
You
sorry.
Say it again.
And
Some
kids
dudes
get it.
just need an ass whooping.
Me and my little brother got the same amount of ass kicking.
And you turned out differently.
We turned out very differently.
Exactly.
We both had different aspirations, and so we have to be careful. And this is why I don't blame my parents. I can talk about the things that happened without blaming them and saying, I am this way because of my upbringing alone. Yes, but I can look deeper than that and say it wasn't just my parents, it was their parents, it was society, it was everything else. And so we don't have to point a finger at right or wrong, blame who, mom, dad, whatever, but we do have to reconcile with, okay, we let's look at all the shit there is to examine. Let's, wheat from the tares. What works, what doesn't, because if that shit ain't working in 2020, what do you want your kids to do in 2030, 2040?
Okay, I want one more comment on whether or not black men and women give each other enough grace, and then I'm going to go on because we have not even gotten halfway through this conversation. And again, I kind of want us to keep our comments short, and it's very hard because it's is a very touchy topic, and we're all very passionate and we're all very smart, but let's try to keep it as short as possible, but still make our point.
Right.
Anybody want to talk about grace?
I feel like, no, we do not. I think that's something that we should try to do more often. But one thing my man touched on, we're all coming up in the crack era, like literally the rap songs and everything that we grew up on was like hell of black destructive, and we like dance to that. So we got a lot of work to do, and that brings us back to therapy. And I'll go ahead.
We need to look, just as a people, collectively, we need to lay on the goddamn couch. Like that's exactly what we need to do.
Definitely.
And as individuals, we need to lay on the couch.
Nothing wrong with it.
At all.
And there's no such thing as not being able to afford therapy. If you have, what is it called?
Insurance,
Medicaid, whatever, like you can get therapy from government assisted insurance. You can, and you should. Like everybody, let's just make a pledge. Everybody gets some therapy, okay?
The government owes you therapy. The government should pay for everybody.
They the ones who traumatized us, right?
Yes. People should get free therapy for the rest of our existence.
Okay,
right.
so.
And you know what, April, I was just going to say really quickly, and I think that's why we don't extend grace, because we all are expecting something from people that we aren't giving. And so we don't extend grace because we all need to go and deal with our own stuff.
We do. We really and truly do. And once again, we cannot have this conversation without you. Time is wrapping up, but I would really, really love to get some of your comments in, some of your thoughts. Call us at 410-822-3733. That's 410-822-3733. You guys know, I'm social media queen. I am always on social media, but I'm not just playing around. I'm really working. I'm really studying. I'm really looking at narratives. I'm doing all of that. And one of the narratives that I noticed is that a lot of black men tend to feel that black women behave too much like men. And a lot of black women feel that black men behave too much like women. Do you believe that there is some truth in your personal opinion? I don't want to hear political correctness. I don't want to hear what you think the audience watching wants you to say. In your personal opinion, are we fucked up in that way?
Yes.
Tell us how you really feel, E. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always been hit with being an alpha female. You know, it's like, oh, you know, you hardcore. Or I even had a guy that I was dating one time ask me, do I cry?
I'm sorry.
I'm like, you want to go there?
I'm sorry.
Damn, you know? I mean, yeah, I do cry, you know what I'm saying? But in general, I had to be strong too, you know, because, I mean, look at it. You know, I'm raising 2 boys by myself. I'm out here working. I was an engineer for Verizon, and a black female engineer out here and, you know, fighting against the white world and the white man thinking, oh, you know, she don't know what she talking
Against
about.
everybody.
You know, it's against everybody. So, I mean, by all means, sometimes you do, as a woman, take on those male perspectives in your life, because sometimes I got to do what a male does.
Yeah.
You know? Where sometimes you got a man in your life that, you know, let's be real, I'm owning a home and I'm like, bro, you gonna cut the grass? You know, not me cut the grass, but you. You know, there's just things like, oh, I don't do that. What? I mean, that's what I grew up on. My daddy cut the grass. I mean, it's just, you know, things that are a female would do without a drop of a hat. That okay, a man can do it, so can I. And it's unfortunately that's in our mind frames. You know, where, you know, you see a man and he's stepped so far back because, you know, oh, a woman can do it. So yeah, it's craziness when it comes to that topic.
Yeah, so check this. So on, I've been listening to Busta Rhymes' new album like on repeat.
I'm not listening yet. I've been slipping.
Oh yeah, you slipping. I need to get on that. So, but there is this. I think it's like track 5 or 6, whatever. But there's this part in there that he says, speaking about society. He says, y'all done made the demasculation of man cool, right? And that was that's just charged straight to media, making it cool for, you know, men to kind of take on these more feminine qualities, you know, like taking more of the female's role, so to say, and not stepping up, not being that head of house, not being that protector, that overseer that we used to see, that used to exist, but they don't even see like it's an overarching plot, because if they can demasculate us, they can control us. And then when you do that, what happens next? Now you are forcing women to be more independent, and then women grow a disdain for the demasculated man, and now we have turmoil right in our own right in our own community.
You need to teach a class on that, bro, because like you really you straight up broke down what is happening, and I feel bad because I'm a very quote unquote strong woman.
You think?
Much like you, Erika. I've been accused of having a masculine energy and, you know, all of that stuff or whatever. But I do have a disdain when I feel like a man has those feminine qualities. And I don't mean feminine as in mannerisms or whatever, but I'm just talking about like, if I'm going to step up before you, and if you like, it bothers me. Like, it bothers me to no end. So with that, I'm going to go to Kelly.
Yeah, I would say that, and I'm just going to be out there and just say I cannot stand a soft man. And what I mean by soft, I cannot stand a gossiping. You know, like you said before, April, you have bags and he's looking at you like he wants somebody to carry his bag. And I mean, I'm all for fashion and everything, but I don't really like men, you know, just doing too much and the the tight jeans and all. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, like, I really don't like any of that. And I'm not coming at anybody's sexuality, because of course you're entitled to be who you are. I want you to be who you are. But me personally, and I also feel like, you know, when it comes to kids, I understand people have a right to raise their kids the way they want to raise their kids. But I really feel like it's starting earlier and earlier. I've seen 7-year-olds and 6-year-olds where parents are like pushing, you know, he wants to be like, I have a family member and he's 6, you know, and the family member is like, yeah, well, I think he wants to be a girl. And every time she like makes him do things that are more feminine. Instead of buying the G.I. Joes, he asks for him, she buying a doll. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of times we put that influence on the kids younger and younger. And by the time they become men, they don't know what they don't know what to do.
Well, I'm really not talking about sexuality, because there are literally gay men who are masculine, you know what I'm saying, and who are true men, and it doesn't even matter like their mannerisms or any of that. Like, I'm literally talking about as far as like gender roles, as far as like how a man is supposed to step up in a relationship or step up in society. Like that's kind of more of what I'm talking about. What do you think, John?
Well, I mean, I guess I'll be the contrarian here on this little panel, but I feel like we get a lot of mixed messages as adults, you know, and one of the things that we've been spoken about on the panel was like patriarchy, and we want to dismantle the patriarchy and gender roles and, you know, all that good stuff. And I understand like the logic and everything, but it's hard to kind of define like where is that line between where it's like traditional behavior and this is good, but then going too far is like a male dominated patriarchy kind of thing that we want to like break down. In my opinion, yes, if you see somebody that needs to carry bags, for example, or open a door for a woman, or, you know, those types of things, you know, it is what it is. That's what you do. But it's like, everybody can do that. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I feel like we're all equal, that we all need to go to therapy, and we all need a lot of work on ourselves. That's basically my little bow to wrap it all up in.
I got a quick little answer for your question of where do you draw the line. I think it's pretty safe to say that we draw the line at oppression. You know what I'm saying? So like, if you know that as a man, you're physically stronger than me, and you see me struggling with something that you could easily carry, that is like, that's what a man should do. Like, if you see someone struggling, like as a younger person, if I see someone elderly struggling with a bag, I'm not gonna say, we all equal, you know what I'm saying? Or if I see a person that is physically challenged, hobbling with some, you know, heavy bags or whatever, I'm not gonna say, you wanted equal rights, you got them, buddy, hobble your ass with the heavy bags, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that it's easy to tell where to step in and where it's like borderline oppression, you know? That's just kind of how I feel about it. I think, Eric?
I mean, but niggas like to make excuses. Like, let's just be completely honest about the fact that some of that line of defense is just, I don't want to do the shit, so
I don't want to do the shit, so
I'm gonna make an excuse about it.
Yeah.
I had a Facebook memory that popped up the other day. I totally forgot I ever written this shit. I don't even remember the context of it. But essentially I said, it's so easy if you're crossing the street and you see a blind person to ask them if they know where they're going. Like it clearly was something that happened that I witnessed. And I do remember more than one situation where I saw a literal legally blind person standing at a fucking intersection with people walking by them. I'm talking downtown DC, so like dozens of people walking by them. Nobody stopped to ask. I mean, he was standing at the intersection for second, like a long time. And you know that they know it's either not safe for them to cross or they're not sure where they are, but nobody gave a fuck and they kept walking. And I thought it was like,
with men and women.
Crazy to me. So I obviously asked the person, helped them, you know, make sure they knew where they were going or whatever. And it dawned on me enough to write a Facebook status about it, but it's just as applicable with black men and black women and acting like we can't acknowledge what distress looks like.
I don't know what to do. I don't know. We equal. I'm like, nah, bruh, nah. But with that, we're going to go to the phones because there's a very patient caller on the line waiting to talk to us. Hello, caller. If you would like to be a part of
What's going on, lady?
Hey, who is this?
That was turned up.
It's Ronald.
Ronald, what's up, babe?
What's going on?
Is this Ronald
It's
Green?
overlapping, so it's like you talk to me, and then when you ask me something, it comes back.
What did he say? I can't hear him.
He's getting feedback.
Yeah, it's Ronald Green.
Okay, I don't know why you're getting feedback, but how about this? How about you just make your comment or ask your question, and then we'll address it. He probably has a delay, so he's trying to...
All right,
There.
okay, I'll just make my comment, because like I said, keep repeating back to me. But y'all touched on a lot of things tonight, and I love your staff or your panel up there. They are awesome. I'm mad y'all don't have more views, and that's blowing me right now. But initially when it started, y'all was talking about the protection of Black women, and I totally agree with every viewpoint of it, but I really appreciated the view from, I believe your friend name is E, and she touched on her raising her 2 sons.
Yes.
And how she appreciates how they treat them and how she wants to see them bring a Black woman home, and basically that she raised them to be good young Black men and know how to treat a woman.
Yeah.
I'll say this, it starts at home first. This is one of the most, how can I word this, toughest dating thing probably in history. I think I should have been born in the 60s. Because this generation is being raised so soft and so weak and don't know how to hold doors and don't know how to carry groceries and don't know how to cut grass and fix blocks and do those things. And I be sitting here talking and listening to some of these horror stories I hear in my inbox like, who raised you? Who was your father? Mm-hmm. And I have a son. You look at him all the time on the line. And I'd be damned if my son not gonna hold the door for my woman, his mama, a stranger. When I'm at the mall, I can walk to a door and see a woman that I do not know. If she's a woman, if she's a female, I'm holding the door, and she better not touch that door if we're approaching it at the same time. Mm-hmm. And when I say things like that, they look at me like I'm crazy, because I will literally tell a stranger, you better not touch the door. Because I'm like, you should know when a man is in your presence, you don't touch doors. My daughter is 10. She's allergic to door handles. But we're not raising these young girls to have, and I'm talking about mothers and fathers, to have these standards where if a dude don't come correct, he don't get nothing. And my thing is, if I said this the other night on my thing, and I'm gonna say this and get off of here because I know y'all is hitting on all cylinders, but I said this the other night. Could you imagine if women set a standard where if a dude just simply didn't come correct with the basics, that she just simply did? The minute guys start realizing, I don't hold the door, I'm not stable, I don't respect you, I don't talk to you correct, I immediately get cut off. Motherfucker gonna get his shit right. He gonna have to switch it up, or he gonna be one only somebody else here. And that's just not what's happening. And it's sad. It's sad.
It is.
You are absolutely right, Ronald, and we interact all the time on social media. You know I don't play. You know I have those standards, but those standards piss off men who don't want to meet those standards. And it becomes, oh, you're angry, oh, that's why you're single. No, like I'm single by choice because I choose not to deal with bullshit. I have standards and I'm waiting for those standards to be met, you know? All right, so I kind of want to talk about what experience has taught you in dealing with the opposite sex.
Ooh, this is a whole other show.
And it's speaking like more positively, like what has experience taught you as a Black man in dealing with Black women that you wish you would have known when you were younger, and vice versa for the women? And I'm going to start with E this time.
I'm going to say if I look over.
Look back over my life.
Back over. My marriage definitely taught me a lot. In my marriage, I was definitely the breadwinner, the head of the household, the head honcho, whatever you want to call it. But then I also, for my ex-husband, it was always, whatever she touches turns to gold. And there was always a competition thing with him. If I went out to, go to college and I got my degrees and he didn't finish, it was just like, here she go again. And then, by him being, unfortunately, weak-minded, it didn't help me. I would put him down. And so, it taught me a lot about tearing a person down. And I truly tore him out the frame. And, he had his wrongs, but I also had my wrongs. But I learned so much. So when I got to a relationship of quality, I knew how to treat my partner. I know how to respect him. I know how to listen. Not just communicate, but to listen as well.
That's the form of communication. People don't realize that.
So, and like you're saying, the married couple, just uplifting and learning from each other and, being a team. A relationship is definitely about a team. Are y'all in it to win it together? And on one accord. And I just, learned that over the course of my years. And also just for me being the person that I am, so, headstrong and, about my careers and being on a certain level, just, also understanding that the person that I think is for me is not for me, okay? And because I'm going to sit here and tell you, I used to be like, oh, the brother in the corporate America on the top, that's who I want. I couldn't even deal with them because they could not receive me.
Yes.
And, and now, the person that I have is definitely an individual that understands me and let me be me. Let me tell you something. That is so important in so many ways to know that, I can be Erika. So, that's what I learned over the course of my relationships and tenure. So.
Okay, we're going to go to Jon right now. Tell me one thing that you have learned in your experience in dealing with the opposite sex that you wish you had known when you were younger.
I think the one thing I wish I would have known was to be as fully myself as I could possibly be as early as possible so that person could know exactly what they was getting into.
Yes.
And not feel like they got a trap door pulled under them as time went on. But I didn't know that when I was younger. I didn't really know me. So I didn't know to kind of say certain things or do certain things or why I did the way, how I was. But as time has gone on, I definitely try to be 100%,
Authentic.
who I am so that, there's no illusions and you know exactly what you're getting into.
Kelly, one thing.
I would say being more understanding, because I think growing up, in my mind, younger, it was about me and what I want and my needs and all of that. But I think now that I'm older and I look back, I could have been more understanding, even, in the early part of our relationship, more understanding of where he was coming from, what he was saying, what he had to go through. And I think it could have eliminated a lot of friction had I been more understanding.
Eric, one thing.
I'm going to say this cautiously because I don't want y'all to get tripped up. But if women feel safe with you, you will always have a place with them.
That's real. That's so real. Carlos?
Active listening is that thing for me. Just listen, because a lot of times, we listen with the intent of looking for the offense, right? And it's like, there you go. I'm offended by that. Now I'm going to respond off of the offense. But when you listen based on active listening and that empathy, now I'm learning how to understand where she's coming from. And it allowed me to look at myself and say, wow, you know what, maybe I did overreact. Because I overreacted a lot in the early days of our marriage, but it took me taking that back step and understanding where her hurt or frustration is coming from, for me to understand, like, you know what, okay, maybe I did too much, maybe I didn't do enough, or maybe I didn't listen enough, whatever the case may be. And now we're going on year 11.
Hey, 11 years, that is awesome. For me, I would say the biggest lesson that I learned in dealing with the opposite sex, and in all honesty, I'm still learning it because I have to unlearn how I'm wired and how I was raised. My mother was all about truth. She wanted the truth. She wanted me to walk in truth. Mm-hmm. She didn't want a partial truth. Like she drilled truth into me. And she was like, always be honest. And I come from a family that may seem brutally honest to other people, but it's our honesty. Like that's just how we are. And so I'm still learning to temper my truth. And that's not always truth as in truth in anger and me telling you something that is negative because I'm angry or something that I don't like. Just overall, like what I'm learning is men are very different than women. Men are fragile in some ways. And so I could just be telling a story. Like I can be telling you something good. You know what I'm saying? Not understanding that maybe that's not something that I should tell. Like maybe you should keep that one thing to yourself, April. Like maybe so I'm really learning the nuances in men and learning like not to be dishonest, but to temper my truth and to be gentle with my truth when it's truth in anger or when it's something that a person needs to work on, to be sure that even though I'm giving truth in love, it may feel like I'm tearing them down. So I'm learning, I'm still learning, and I'm looking forward to growing in all of that. So let's talk about misconceptions. I'm getting the wrap up sign, so we do need to kind of keep it short. As a man, what do you want women to know? Like one misconception about black men. What do you want black women to know? One, and make it quick. Come on.
Okay. I'm blanking. This is crazy.
I go.
Go ahead, John. Oh, Carlos.
That was me. We, as men, we cannot and will not read your mind.
But we want you to be psychic, man. What?
Nope, we're here for that. You know what? And here's where you can start. Tell us what you want to eat.
Shut up.
We don't know what we want to eat.
Exactly.
We want to eat some of yours. That's what we want. And it always tastes better when it's on your plate. Who's next?
I will say that, we are not each other's enemies. And I think that will go for black men and women. I mean, we definitely need each other at this point more than ever, it seems like. And, we just are not each other's enemies. Everybody's going through things and has issues with each other and so on and so forth. But overall, we're on the same team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Erica or Kelly, who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Kelly.
I would say we take on certain roles because we have to, not necessarily because we want to.
Mm-hmm. Say it again, sis.
We take on certain roles because we have to, not because we want to.
One more time for the people in the cheap seats. One more time.
We take on certain roles because we have to, not because we want to.
All right, go ahead, E.
I gotta think. I mean, I think, I would say that, don't always look at us as the mean girl. Just look at us as, a strong foundation of what, we've been built of and what we have to deliver. So we do have a soft side, so don't always think we coming at you like, rah, we have a soft side, but, there's times and place for those things to happen.
I'm down for a strong woman because I'll kick your ass.
Right, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. Like, you want that woman on your team when it's time to unleash that dragon. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's on a street, whether it's from a professional standpoint, and I gotta stand up for my man professionally, any kind of way, like I'm down. But you don't want that when it comes to the between us. You don't want that interpersonal situation. So to piggyback off of what Erica was saying, I think that black men have the misconception that black women want to be men and that we're always so hard. Us being hard is basically social evolution. We are that way for survival. We are that way because we have had to be that way. And I'm just going to look in the camera right now and speak to all of my beautiful black brothers. Understand that even the toughest black woman is soft when she feels safe. If you are with a woman, you are dating her, you are married or what have you, and something happens where she puts up that turtle shell, you know, and she's being hard or she pulls out those horns, it's because in that moment, in that era, in that space and time, she does not feel safe. So have the conversation and figure out what it is that you need to do or what it is that you guys need to do to make her feel safe. A woman wants to be a woman. And for my sisters, right? Don't date a man who doesn't make you feel safe.
How about that?
Because I have sometimes made choices that I should not have made out of love, out of what makes me feel good. But it takes more than just love and the feels to make a relationship work.
Yes.
So you have to, even if he looks good, he feels good, he says all the right things, let that beautiful black man walk right on by and be beautiful for the person that he fits with if he does not make you feel safe. And black women don't feel bad for being strong. You just need a nigga that's stronger than you.
How about that?
It's as simple as that. You just need somebody that is stronger than you in certain areas that makes you feel safe. And I think that is just like a beautiful note to end on. You guys have been amazing. This really is a two-part conversation. So maybe at some point we'll come back and we'll do it again and tackle all the other questions that we did not get to. But Kelle and Carlos Avent, thank you so very much. Jon Cook, thank you. Erika Elie, thank you. And Eric McKinley King, thank you so much. We love you guys. This conversation was necessary, but continue this conversation in the streets, in your homes, amongst your friend groups, on social media. Yes, thank you, producer. On social media. And let's just love on each other more. Good night. See you next Tuesday.